Manchester United have an opportunity to win us around and make us potentially trust the team a little bit more just by beating West Ham semi-convincingly on Thursday night at Old Trafford. I don't need to tell you that you don't trust what they're going to do you? We only saw last week that Everton rocked up to Old Trafford with 10 men and won 1-0, with United looking essentially clueless on how to break that team down. I get the feeling West Ham might try and come in and make it just as awkward as Everton did, but hopefully United will take the lessons forward from that game into this one at Old Trafford and get 3 points. There is an opportunity again this week for United to solidify their position in the table and start looking upwards. There are teams that are playing each other. I will talk about the opportunity that knocks in this game and potentially next Monday as well for United to set themselves apart a bit from the teams that are below them, to take a bit of pressure off themselves, to make it a little bit easier for themselves. But they just won't do it. Do you? You just know that they won't do it. Hopefully we can be surprised, and hopefully United can go and make this game relatively smooth. West Ham aren't great, but neither are Man United. But I'm going to look ahead to that game on this episode of the Promised Land podcast. Please subscribe to it on Apple, Spotify, and on YouTube as well. Links are in the description. 5-star reviews would be really appreciated. Comments and all of that kind of stuff as well would be really appreciated. Let me know what your lineup would be. Let me know who you'd pick. Ruben Amorim has said that there are 2 injuries or injury doubts, that he doesn't quite know if they'll be fit yet. He's not given us the names, but that makes guessing the 11 or trying to understand what the 11 will be makes it a little bit more difficult than it would usually be. Drop your comments and follow me on social as well at _Scott Saunders on X, Instagram, and TikTok. I'll be looking ahead to the West Ham game over the course of the pod, maybe in a few minutes' time. But to start with, I did want to talk about an interview that has been released by Sky Sports with Amad and Bryan Mbeumo. I'm presuming ahead of this game. I'm presuming it'll run in the coverage. United's game is the only game on Thursday night, so maybe they'll have a big build-up. Maybe this gets a bit of air, but it's out now on YouTube. And I found it quite interesting. We know the relationship that has been built up already between Amad and Bryan Mbeumo. They have talked about it. They've spoken about how they found a proper mutual friendship there, a lot of commonality. They've spoken about how difficult it's been in the early stages anyway to get used to playing with each other. These are 2 players that really, if you had to pick a position on the pitch for them each to play, probably they would occupy the same position. So it's been a little bit of a challenge for them, in their own words, to be able to work out not only what each other want to do, where each other wants to run, where each other wants the ball, but how to work it out in the system, the Ruben Amorim team, in how Ruben Amorim wants to do things. We've seen that Amad has moved back most of the time to right wing back, and I think that is probably one of, or if not the most effective part of Manchester United's team when it's really working so far this season. It's been good to see. Obviously, we are in the final week or two for a little while of having Amad and Bryan Mbeumo in this Manchester United team. I think it remains to be seen at the moment whether they will be making it and being able to play for United against Bournemouth on December the 15th. I think that is the day where players have to leave to report for international duty, but I'm not entirely sure how it's going to work, and whether United will be able to keep them for that game and be able to let them go after that, if that's a possibility, if that's what's happening. I don't know yet, but the fingers crossed, we need them. It doesn't really bear thinking about how United put an attack together if they don't have those 2 players working together. We've certainly not seen enough out of a lot of the other players to have confidence that United won't look even more toothless than they already do at some points. Amad and Bryan Mbeumo have sat down, and I think my big... You can watch this on YouTube, by the way. I've already said it, but I would advise you, because it made me feel quite good, actually. It's nice to see that not only has a friendship developed and a relationship blossomed there, but some of the stuff that they were saying really confirmed to me that things are right inside, Now, I spend a lot of time talking about the players and their application to the system and all of this. This is not that. I'm not talking about that at the moment. I've never had the feeling under Ruben Amorim since he's come in that the players are downing tools. And I think when I talk about players and lack of application at certain points. I'm talking about it's more of a concentration thing. It's more of a how you deal mentally with the rigors of playing for Manchester United, how you deal with the expectation, how you apply yourself all through the game. I think it's not a case of downing tools. I'm talking about the squad in general here. So I wanted to make this kind of clear because I know that when you go out there and you say stuff on social media that people can kind of get the wrong end of the stick and think that if you're looking at the players and you're blaming them for not doing X right, you're just throwing them in the same bucket as previous players and previous squads and previous iterations of this United team. I felt previously that there were players that did, and this was a problem, did down tools when they felt like a manager had run his last race or it was on his last legs or something like that before he was going to be sacked. I have never had that feeling about this team under Ruben Amorim, and I don't think that the players aren't bought into what Amorim wants. I think there are people out there that maybe think that that's the case, but this interview to me again only confirmed that feeling. I think this is for Ruben Amorim, this is a job where he has to make sure that players are switched on at all times. The physicality needs to be up and at the right levels. The concentration needs to be up and at the right levels. They need to do the right things at the right times. In terms of effort, when I see even against Everton the other day, it was not a case of, well, United didn't want to win this game. I think Everton wanted to win it more at the time, but it was not for a want of trying. I think you can see and you can sense moments where the pressure just gets to them. And when you fall 1-0 down at Old Trafford to a team with 10 men and you're trying and you're trying and you're trying to overcome that, the weight of the world can be on your shoulders. And I think that is what weighs the team down. That's the difficulty that the players need to kind of shift off themselves. And I think in the camp, generally, I really like how Mbeumo and Amad have given like an insight into not only their relationship, but into the camp and into what the camp is feeling as well and what they want to achieve. And they were asked, both of them actually were asked about what the ambition is. When asked about the level at which United will be competing in 2 years' time or like in the future, Amad said, and this is what I like, the honesty of always keeping that long-term goal in mind. And I do talk about this. I talk about it on a timeline to 2028. But we can never let this go out of our minds. As much as I'm talking about like expectations now being, well, get to 5th or 6th or get back in the Champions League, but don't live game to game. This is all with the interest of like maybe reversing it a little bit, reversing expectations so you can take the pressure off to move back towards the end goal of competing for titles. And Amad said to that question, honestly, why not win in the league? Dreaming is possible, no? And Mbeumo added, if you come to Manchester United, you want to win titles and the Premier League is one of them, so why not? Now, it's good to see to me that the players are thinking like this. We know that Manchester United are a team that should be winning titles. It's good that the players have taken that opportunity, even publicly, to kind of share that that's what the ambition is. Like, people do question a lot what Manchester United's actual ambition is now. And it's good to me that we've got a little insight into the feeling of the players and what they're thinking of. But the thing is, you can't jump 4 steps forward to start with. You've got to deal with all the problems at root in order to take those steps to get back to that point of competing for titles. And I think that is something that I feel like, because of the social media blowback you kind of get, I feel like I needed to stress that. And I needed to say that all of this talk about where United finish and performances and all of this, and trying to bring down the expectation of, because we all expect United to win every game. I just don't think it's realistic really to expect that this team will go and do that. I don't think it's realistic to expect that there won't be speed bumps along the way. And it's important to kind of zoom out a little bit and make sure that you see what the long-term vision is. And I think this was just a bit of a reminder about what that long-term vision is. And it's good to see, because Amorim's talked about it previously. Jim Ratcliffe has talked about it previously. I think Jason Wilcox has talked about it previously as well. In the long term, over the next couple of seasons, we need to get United back to competing for league titles. That's basically it, right? And it's a long way off at the moment, but transfer windows and executing a certain plan and executing the right deals for the right personalities, the right players, the right physicalities, that you do that more and more often, you plug the holes in the team, and you can finally start to, hopefully anyway, build towards that. We only need to look at Arsenal and how people don't want to hear the Arteta Amorim comparison. They just don't want to hear it sometimes, but I think there's a lot of validity to it. Arsenal were so, like, they were done. I remember on a Friday night at Brentford, on the first night of the season, the day Brentford played their first Premier League game, Arsenal were accused of soft. They lost 2-0. Arsenal were accused of being soft. They just signed like Ben White, I think, and that was the Arsenal that we knew then. Arsenal have since evolved to becoming a team that's really, really hard to beat. You can't score against them. They're top of the league at the moment, and you would expect that they'll go on to win the league title this year, all because they stuck at it and executed a plan under a guy's vision, under a certain transfer strategy. They signed a lot of players, 23, 24 years old. You know, those kinds of players, you can grow together. I like Bryan Mbeumo and Amad as part of this for United moving forward. I think they both, to me, really look like they can continue to grow with this team. And even though we talk about, like, well, we didn't beat Everton, they had 10 men last week, that doesn't change the longer term goal. There's going to be hiccups along the road. Anyway, Amad said as well, and this is another thing I wanted to point out, while there's a lot of outside noise and outside concern about Ruben Amorim and whether he's the right guy, again, I don't get the impression from these players that they are not fighting for the manager. I think these players quite like him. I really do. I'm not getting those vibes at all. Maybe that's a message from the top, and maybe that's an affirmation from Jim Ratcliffe a few months ago, or whatever it was, that they are backing Ruben Amorim and they've put public messages out there. So now is the time. You've got to get on board with what the coach wants, and it will be you as a player who ends up leaving United, and it won't be the coach. Maybe that's the messaging that's inside the football club now, and I hope that's the case. That is a top-down approach, which is what it should be. There's been plenty of times in the past where United have had players who just haven't been having the manager, and managers have lost their jobs because of it. It feels like things have started to change a little bit over the course of the last few months, I think. And maybe things turn around and Amorim does go at some point this season. I don't know. But Amad went on to say in this interview, when asked about whether the team was moving in the right direction or not, he said, "From my personal side, I think we're improving a lot, especially as a team, because I can remember last season, some of the games weren't easy for us. We were going into games already thinking we lost the game," which is something that Ruben Amorim also said as well. But this season is different mindset, different energy. We go to the game and we feel we can win this game. So I think we're improving, and the staff also are helping us to make that step. And he did give credit to the manager as well, I think. We're not really happy where we are on the table. They're 7th, I think, or 8th after last night's results. But we will improve. What I can say, I'm sure we will do much better for the next game. I think we're a different team now. We know this season is different to last. We play one game a week, so we have to try and do better every game. The mindset's positive in the dressing room. We're a different team. Bruno is a leader. Harry Maguire, everyone, even Brian. And he kind of blushed a little bit, Bryan Mbeumo did. I think the energy is positive, honestly. It's much, much better than last season. Like I say, we want to do better in every game, and I promise we will. So it's nice messaging, to be honest. I think it's really good that this has come out, and I would advise that you watch it, because it just made me feel as though things in the camp, despite all the outside noise, were actually okay. Now, there's been other examples of players like carrying the weight of the world on their shoulders. We only talked about Lenny Yoro and his performance the other day and his reaction to it the other day. They will need to, again, I think both of these guys are quite close with him. They will need to take Lenny Yoro under the wing and to help him deal with this, because it's a stressful, really difficult job playing for Manchester United. That's just the way that it is. And I feel like this interview specifically gave me a bit more of an insight into how the players are feeling. So let's see if they can, as Amad promised, go into this next game now and start performing a bit better when we're expecting them to. But they did also talk about their own relationship. Bryan Mbeumo said, "We have a good relationship. He helped me when I came. Obviously, we speak the same language, so it was easier for me to go with him. He was telling me how it was working here as well. So I think we built the relationship from the first day." And there's plenty more in that as well. They also talked about how it was important that they found a way to play together and how it took them a little bit of time in order to understand each other. But now we obviously see when Bryan Mbeumo and Amad are lining up on that right-hand side, it's pretty devastating. And it can be that. Not all the time, but it can be that. And I'm not looking forward to the point where both of these players go on international duty, but it's obviously a massive goal for each of them as well. They talked about how this was each of their first opportunities to play at AFCON, which is a lifelong dream of both of this. So good luck to both of them when they do end up going. I would like them to get back as early as possible from a selfish point of view for Manchester United in order to be able to help United's results and help United continue with the ambitions that they have this season. But that's just me being selfish, but like, it is on the YouTube channel on Sky Sports. Go and check that out. It's a really good interview. And it gave me a good feeling that there are players in there who feel as though the club are moving in the right direction. They're doing the right things, even if we don't see it all the time. So it just gave me that extra bit of belief. Now, let's look ahead to the West Ham game, because we don't want another repeat of the Everton game. We just don't. As much as I think that West Ham might have been given a blueprint by Everton last week of how to turn up to United and beat them, even with 10, I hope that United will take the lessons from that game. Score first. That will really, really help. Scoring first is really, really important. They can't lose an early goal. Just get in there, score first, do the job, win 2-0. That would be great for me. We don't expect that to happen, do we? I think we've been run through the mill too many times, and nobody is expecting an easy night here. Even though West Ham are having problems themselves this season, they lost to Liverpool the weekend. Where are they in the league table? They're 17th in the league on 11 points. They've won 2 of their last 4 games, so there's been a little bit of a turnaround under Nuno, but they've only won 3 games this season out of 13. So you'd expect, really, that Manchester United can go in and just do the job here. I would hope that they do, but it's never easy with United, is it? But how do they go about doing it? Now, Ruben Amorim has spoken to the press today on Wednesday. What day are we on? Wednesday today. He's spoken to the press today talking about the team news ahead of that game. Matheus Cunha is back in the mix. We've seen pictures of him in training. He said, I think he posted on his Instagram story a picture of him saying back, or something like that. So it's good to know that after a couple of games out, that United do have Matheus Cunha back in the mix. Will he start? I'll talk about that in a second. I don't know. But there are 2 injuries, which we do know about. Harry Maguire and Benjamin Sesko are both out. And there are also 2 mystery injury doubts that Ruben Amorim didn't give away. There's been some, apparently, I've seen some talk about it potentially being Bruno Fernandes. He did get a kick in the back of the leg the other day, an impact injury, which looked like a hamstring, but it wasn't at the time. But we don't know. These 2 players are mystery doubts, but maybe they both pull through, maybe they don't. We'll wait and see. And Ruben Amorim didn't want to give those names away and didn't want to give any kind of indication, really, about who those players were, because it might mean that certain players play in different positions. That's what I took out of his press conference. Anyway, it's important that United go into this, and I think really take a hold on the game. They've got to be on the front foot. We know that. They just weren't on the front foot from the very beginning against Everton. Look, we've had all of the bad and some of the good over the last week or so from United. We need to see more of the good. And the important thing here to point out, before I get into the team and the squad, I pointed this out on social this morning, how much of an opportunity United have to just go and alleviate some of the pressure off themselves. So I was looking at the fixtures. I've talked about this on the pod a lot over the last few weeks, that United are in this mix of teams in the middle of the league where there's about 12 of them. Let me just actually count this. If I go from Bournemouth, who are in 14th and on 19 points, all the way up to 5th place, that is 3 points separating 5th from 14th. Now, there's been some teams who haven't played games in this match round so far, and United are one of those. And some who have. Bournemouth and Andoni Iraola as well lost at home to David Moyes' Everton last night, but nobody's going to bat an eyelid about that, are they? But it's just that people always want something new and something flashy, but there's no attention paid to Bournemouth when they lose to Everton. So Bournemouth are 14th, Brighton are 5th, and they are separated 14th and 5th by 3 points. Now, in the game last night, I was looking and I noticed this. Newcastle played Tottenham. Newcastle and Tottenham, I think at the time, were 11th and 12th, or 12th and 13th. They were on the same points, and they still are. They were also going into that game 3 points behind United. I was hoping that the two teams would draw, and there was some absolute shenanigans in that one. Christian Romero scoring an overhead kick in the 94th minute or whatever it is, which just trickled in beyond everyone. It seemed like it should have been stopped about 4 times, but it just trickled in, and it was some kind of weird, really weird game. But it was a good result for United. It really was. These two teams drawing now gives United the opportunity to pull, if they win this, again, touch wood, if they win this against West Ham, they could pull 5 points clear of both Tottenham and Newcastle, who are two teams that you would really expect that would be in the mix at some point this season for those top 6 places. That's just the way that it is. Also, around them, United are sandwiched by Sunderland in 6th and Liverpool in 8th. Tonight, Wednesday night, don't know what the result will be, obviously, because I'm recording ahead of time, but Liverpool play Sunderland at Anfield on Wednesday night. The two teams directly around Manchester United, all separated by a point. Also, if you look further up the table, Aston Villa go to Brighton. Aston Villa are 4th, Brighton are 5th. So again, that is another two teams that are going to take points off of each other. And this is why I've made such a big deal over the last few weeks of United and this run being really, really important to them to build up a head of steam. And if United can go and take 3 points tomorrow, potentially take 3 points at Wolves, who have not won a game in the Premier League this season. God, man, when I'm looking ahead to that Wolves game on Saturday or Sunday or whenever it is for that Monday night game, I know we're all going to have the feeling, right, that Wolves haven't won a game all season. Wouldn't it be great? Wouldn't it be so predictable if Manchester United were the team that gave them their first win at Molineux? Hey, Mateus Cunha's going back to Wolves, isn't he? Wolves will really love to get one over on United. I know I'm going to be talking about that, especially if United don't win against West Ham tomorrow. But there are opportunities here, especially over the next 3 before the players go on AFCON duty. West Ham at home, Wolves away, Bournemouth at home as well. That'll be a difficult one. It obviously will. But United have an opportunity here to just imagine if they can go and win 3 games in a row. It's a big if. It's a big if. But this message has to be drilled home. There's such an opportunity here to alleviate the pressure on themselves for weeks to come. It will probably get a whole lot easier for the players that can just do their jobs on, Thursday night and on Monday night. And we can look ahead, hopefully, to United potentially challenging and punching above instead of looking below. That's just the way that it is, because there's a lot of teams still that are playing against each other, and United have this unique opportunity, especially for the next couple of games. And I'm looking back at the Everton and Crystal Palace games as well. There's a real opportunity, or there has been an opportunity for United to go and not play those teams that are in that mix in the middle, mostly, and pull away from them because all the other teams are going to be playing each other. We'll see what happens. We'll see how it goes. But look, how will United do it? Let's talk about the lineup, shall we? Now, we don't know what those mystery injuries are. We don't know who they are. They might come out on Twitter, maybe in the lead up to the game or something like that. But I think United have done a pretty good job of keeping things under wraps, especially over the last 6 to 12 months. I think we all knew every single little injury, every single little development, every lineup used to get leaked. We know that was the case. That's changed a lot now. So hopefully United can keep this under wraps and the 2 mystery doubts under wraps. But I'm just going to proceed and go ahead and name the lineup that I would like to see with the players that I know are available, just without the knowledge of these injuries. So obviously, Senne Lammens is a lock-in in goal. It's probably the right thing to do to take Lenny Yoro out of the firing line. I think it's sensible to me. Now, he hasn't had a good and easy time of it lately. And what you do need to do, and what good managers do, is protect young players. Now, I know that people don't think that Amorim is given enough of a chance to the young players that he has on the fringes of his team. Kobbie Mainoo is obviously one. Lenny Yoro's had enough minutes, though. He's had a good fair time, a good crack of the whip. Amorim has spoken about how he's spoken to Lenny Yoro in his pre-match press conference today as well, saying how he pointed out all of the good things that Lenny Yoro's been doing and how it's important that he focuses on that and that he bounces back. I have no doubt Lenny Yoro will bounce back from the difficulties. This is just a case of growing up in the Premier League and being a young player and learning professional football at the very top level. That's just what it is for me. Lenny Yoro, I've seen enough of him to know that he will be a very, very good player for United. But it is, to me, time to take him out of the firing line. I would use up Mazraoui at right centre-back. Matthias de Ligt at central centre-back as well. And we got 9 minutes out of Licha Martinez the other day. So I'm not entirely sure that Amorim will do this. He'll probably stick with Shaw again, but I'm going to stay on that idea that I have of Luke Shaw at left wing back. I would like to see that happen, and hopefully Licha Martinez can come in and get some minutes under his belt, 45, 60 minutes or whatever. Hopefully that is what we can see in this game. To me, that's what I would like to see. There are obviously the games against Wolves and Bournemouth as well. I think it makes sense to put Martinez in against West Ham. We'll see. Maybe he needs more 20, 30-minute appearances off the bench. Maybe that's the way that United are going to do it. But I would like to see him in from the start still. So that would be a back three of Mazraoui, de Ligt, and Martinez. On the right wing back, Amad, Casemiro, and Bruno Fernandes is probably a locked-in midfield, even though they played together the other day and both played 90 minutes. I think you'd expect still that Casemiro does continue there and Bruno continues there as well. Don't anticipate a spot for Kobbie Mainoo unless that Bruno injury rumor is actually true. And Luke Shaw at left wing back is what I'd like to see. But he's not done it yet. But at the weekend, Amorim brought on Licha Martinez and took out Luke Shaw, and they just did like for like. So maybe they are two players who are competing for the same position. To me, I think it makes more sense that they're both in the team at the same time. So hopefully we start seeing that at some point soon. Up front then, Bryan Mbeumo is pretty much a lock-in still. Will he bring Cunha back straight away? I think he will. United spent too much money on him really to not. Like, he's had a head injury, I think. If providing he's okay and he's all up and running, I think Amorim would prefer that he's back in the team. And what the doubt I've had is which player makes way for him if he does start. Because Joshua Zirkzee scored at Crystal Palace the other day, and so did Mason Mount. He scored at Palace the other day as well. He scored the winner. And both players looked really quite effective in the second half. So what do you do? How do you keep both of these players happy? How do you make sure that you're doing the right thing? I think Amorim will go with Mbeumo, Mount, and Cunha personally. I think he'll start Cunha up front, and I think Zirkzee, who's not been he's not been in favour at all this season under Ruben Amorim. He's only in the team now because of the injuries up front and because of the injury that Cunha had. For me, I would do Mbeumo, Cunha, Zirkzee from the start because Mount has played a fair bit. I think you do need to get Xerxes' minutes up a bit. And I think there's a lot of curiosity out there as well about Cunha, Xerxes, and Mbeumo playing together because there's technical quality there. You know, Xerxes flatters to deceive a lot of the time, but he does have really good technical quality when he wants it. And if he puts himself about at the right moments and in the right way, he can be a difficult player to play against. So I'm intrigued to see the ingenuity of that front three. So I think it has promise. And I know that may be the most favored one out there from a bunch of you, or maybe on social media anyway. Mason Mount's not the biggest social media favorite or whatever, but I definitely see what he brings to the team as well. I just think because Mount has had minutes here and there dotted in, and he will get minutes over the course of the month as well, providing he stays injury-free. I think Xerxes is more in need of those minutes at the moment. So I would probably go with Mbeumo, Cunha, Xerxes. That's the 11 that I would pick. Lamens, Mazraoui, de Ligt, Martinez, Amad, Casemiro, Bruno, Shaw, Mbeumo, Cunha, and Xerxes. And that's what I would do. I was trying to think then if I'd repeated a player in the list. But anyway, let me know what your ideal 11 would be for this game with United playing West Ham. Get in the comments and let me know whether you think or whether you're even remotely confident that United can go about doing their job and just take 3 points where you expect them to do it. Generally, over the last few years, it's been so difficult for United to do that. And it's been so difficult to trust that this United team can go and do what's expected of them. We'll see. Maybe it's going to be another difficult night at Old Trafford. I would anticipate that West Ham will make it awkward, probably. Will United come through this and win? I have to say, I still think that they will, but obviously I'm not going to be surprised at all if West Ham make this really awkward and United don't end up winning the game. It will be another missed opportunity, though, if they don't make the most of it. But let me know in the comment section what you think on anything that I spoke about on this episode of the pod today. Please subscribe to it. All the links are in the description. Like the video on YouTube. 5-star reviews on the audio platforms as well. Get in the comments, like I say, and follow me on social at _Scott Saunders on X, Instagram, and TikTok. I'll see you soon, everyone, for another episode of the Promised Land podcast. See you soon.